Okay, so now that you've finished your 1-point linear perspective, where you drew just the front face and the top of the box below eye level, or the front face and the bottom of the box above your eye level, remember this is eye level, and it's always at the horizon line, and you did one box with the front and the side face, right? It's on eye level. So now that you've completed that, like this, you're now going to learn how to draw using 2-point linear perspective, which is a more true application of how we see most of the objects that are rectilinear like this one in our day-to-day lives. And we're going to start with that center line to help us to place it above eye level, below eye level, and on eye level on a new piece of paper. All right, so we're going to label just the same way as we did previously with everything, but we're going to use 2 vanishing points instead of 1 vanishing point in the middle. And the 2 vanishing points are still going to be on the horizon line, on the eye level line. Same thing, remember, horizon line's always at your eye level. Your eye level's always at the horizon line. And we're going to put 2 separated the distance of the paper by a ½ an inch from the outer edges. So pick up your HB pencil, and I recommend that you have a nice sharp point to your pencil so that you can really fine-tune your drawing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Just a reminder, as you're working, we are learning how to create believable looking forms with line right now, and then eventually we'll add value into it too to create more believable 3-dimensionality. Okay, so that's what we're working toward with this work that we're doing again today. All right, so the first step is let's place that horizon line right in the middle of the paper like we did previously. So at the top of the paper with your pencil vertical, here's the 0 mark, that line right there. We're going to measure down from the 0 at the top edge of the paper to 4½ inches, which is right there on the ruler. It's half the distance from the 4 to the 5. It's this second longest line on the ruler right there, okay? So we're going to measure down that distance at the left and at the right to place the horizon line. So we have enough space at the top and at the bottom to put our boxes. It's kind of arbitrary, and I talked about it in class, and I'm not going to take up too much time to talk about it, but it all depends on what we want to include in our picture. Do we want to see more stuff on the ground? We would leave the horizon line an eye level higher in the picture. If we want to show more things above the ground, then we would move the horizon line down lower in the picture format, okay? I've got them measured over. It's 4½ inches at the left, 4½ at the right. I line those 2 marks up, and I draw from one side of the paper, to the other side of the paper, and I drew my little finger point too. I'll erase that eventually. So there's our horizon line. Remember, its label is HL for horizon line, so please label it at the left. And the horizon line is always at your eye level. When you look straight ahead in front of you, the horizon line is where the sky and the earth meet, okay? So we're going to label that eye level on the right. Just to remind yourself that the horizon line and the eye level always meet, or should meet, for linear perspective to work, and aerial perspective too. So 2 labels, HL, horizon line, EL, eye level. Now we're going to label the next step. Here we go. We're going to label it down at the bottom, 2-point linear perspective. I had my notes there, and I wanted to make sure I did this correctly. 2-point linear perspective. Make sure you spell it correctly. We spelled it in class again. And it's on the directions for this assignment too. That is a V. My pencil kind of messed up on me. So 2-point linear perspective is what we're doing now with your pencil. All right? So we're going to create believable forms with how you draw those lines. I'm going to see if I can zoom in even closer here, and I don't seem to be able to. All right, so we want to put those 2 points on the line, like I said. Let's put each one of them ½ an inch from the outer edge. So here's 0 on the edge of the paper. Here's 1. Let's go half of the distance to ½ an inch for our first vanishing point. Just a small dot, ½ an inch from the outer edge at the left, and then do the same thing at the right. So it's 12 inches there. I'm going back half an inch to 11 and a half. I'm putting a vanishing point there. Let's label those two. Remember, that's part of this work, is having all the labels there. So you're not only just learning how to do the process, but you're learning the vocabulary of the process to create believable looking two-point perspective. So these are called vanishing points, and we label them VP. Vanishing is V, and point is P. Vanishing points are where things look like they disappear as they go toward the horizon line in 2-point or 1-point linear perspective. So we're doing two of them. So we've got one vanishing point there, we've got a second one there, so label that one too. And if you erase any of these labels as you're working, remember to go back and rewrite them because they're part of the grade for this work, all right? I want you to learn the terminology, and that's part of the process here. Okay, so we've got our horizon line, which is our at our eye level. We've got our two vanishing points. Now we're going to draw three boxes. Let's start with the box above eye level. The box above eye level is going to look like a cube as much as we can. If you remember when we did 1 point, we just did the front face as a square, and then if it was above our eye level, we drew in the bottom face too. And if it was below our eye level, we drew in the front face and the top face. If it was off to the side, we drew the side face and the front face. We need to use two vanishing points for a more true representation. So we're going to start with this edge to create this face, and then if it's above your eye level, we'll also draw this face. If it's below your eye level, we'll also draw that face. And honestly, on eye level is the simplest view because you only see the front two faces, okay? By the way, we call each side of a box like this a face, like my face. So this is a front face, this is a front face at the right, this is a front face at the left, top face, bottom face, back, all right? So we want to start with a line right about in the middle of our picture. So let's measure half of the distance over, and it's 12 inches, so I'm going to start a line at 6 inches. I'm just making a mark at 6, another mark at 6, right? That way it's straight up and down, and should be at a 90-degree angle to this. Now I'm going to line those two marks up with the 0 at the top of the paper, and even if my mark is outside of my line, I'm going to start my line at 1 inch. So you're leaving empty paper up to 1 inch below the edge. And you're going to draw a 2-inch long line that is that front edge of the box. So here's that line, it's 2 inches long, and it represents this edge of the box, okay? Our next step, this is really simpler actually than drawing a square to get it started. What we're gonna do is from that top line to this vanishing point, and from the bottom of that line to this vanishing point, we're going to put in the beginning of the side edge. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side, going to this vanishing point. So line up your pencil, put your pencil right on the top line, put your ruler up against it, line it up with the vanishing point on the left for this one, and then draw your line in. Should go right to the top of that mark, should go right to the vanishing point. Do the same thing at the bottom. Put your pencil there, move your ruler up against it, put your ruler at the vanishing point, draw in your line. Okay. So we've got the side edge going back to infinity, right? It's going really far. Now we're going to do the other side. I think I'm going to move my table a little closer. Now you might be able to see my lines better. All right, so now we're going to draw these edges going back in space from the same point where this line meets with the vertical line, right on it. I'm going to put my ruler up against it, line it up with the vanishing point on the horizon line at the right-hand side, and I'm going to draw it in. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, right where they meet up, ruler against it, line up the point, hold the ruler really tight so it doesn't move, and draw in your line. So now we've got two long faces that look like they go all the way to the horizon line, to infinity and beyond. Well, they aren't that big. This box ends before it gets to the horizon line, okay? So we have to put in the back edges on the two sides of the box. Now, we know that this is 2 inches. The distance as things go away from us, seems to diminish. Remember, we talked about that with the 5 forms and with the 1-point perspective. So if this is going to be a cube where each face has the same length to it, we know that the distance from front to back cannot be as long as it is top to bottom unless we're looking straight on it, and we're not. As things go away from us, they get smaller in size, all right? So here's my measurement. This is called comparative measurement, where I'm going to measure one thing against another thing to compare them. Now, I know I don't want to go that far because that would make it look more like this box than this cube, all right? So I want to make sure that it's a little bit less, and 2/3 is a good distance for something that is a cube that is tilted equally away from each of its 2 vanishing points. All right, so about 2/3 of the distance. I'm going to put my ruler, see where my thumb is my mark for the distance from here to there. So I'm putting my thumb there, put my ruler up against it, make sure that it's at a 90-degree angle to the horizon line, parallel to the front edge. That looks better. And then I draw in the line going from top to bottom. So the distance from front to back should be less than the distance from top to bottom for that face. All right? Now, ideally, this back edge should be about the same distance as it is from front to back, ideally. So if you did everything right, that it works just right. If this is right in the middle of those two, and you've done all the other measurements, it should be about right. Now, because it's a cube, and this center line is right between those 2 vanishing points, the distance from here to that back edge is the same as it is from here to that back edge, because it's a cube. They're the same size. So I'm going to measure again. There's my measurement. And then I'm going to I'll put my ruler right against my thumbnail and then move it up, right? So it goes right there. And it needs to be parallel to the front edge and to that edge and at a 90-degree angle to the horizon line. And you draw it in. So there's the 2 faces that we've completed so far. The front edge is always where you start. And then you draw in the top and bottom for each face, and then you draw the back edge for each face, which is what we've done. We need to do, because it's above our eye level, we need to draw the bottom of that cube in too. So where this edge from front to back goes to space, it meets up with its opposite side going to the same vanishing point. Right? I'll show you what I mean by that. We're putting in the opposite side of this face, right, that goes this way. It's going to start here at the front, like this one did, but it's, I'm sorry, it's not at the front, it's at the back edge, but it's parallel to this front edge at the back, and it goes to that vanishing point. So you put your pencil on that vanishing point, on that corner where the in this case, the bottom meets up with the side at the back. Put it there, and then line it up with the vanishing point on the horizon line. Make sure all of the lines come together at the same place on that vanishing point, and especially on your object that you're drawing. So now we've drawn in the back edge that's parallel to the front edge here. Now we're going to draw in the back edge here that's parallel to this front edge, so that means we go to its vanishing point. If they're parallel, they share the same vanishing point. There to there. All right, and there's your cube existing in space. Now, because these extra lines aren't really there, they just helped us to get the form, we erase them, right? They're called guidelines, and they're not really there. So erase them carefully and completely as much as you can. Be careful not to erase your cube, your form, and be careful not to erase any labels or your horizon line. If you erase anything, especially the form itself, if you erase part of it, go back with your ruler and your pencil and redraw it. Don't freehand draw it. Use your pencil and your ruler to get it back where it belongs. All right, so once you've got all your guidelines taken out, all the way to the horizon line, you might have to rewrite the EL or the VP a couple times as we do the work. but they need to be there when you turn it in, all right? That's part of your grade. So there's our first cube. This cube is completely, or box, is completely above the horizon line, is completely above our eye level, so it's referred to as above eye level, just like it was when it was 1 point perspective. So with this, please label it above EL, eye level, okay? We always use abbreviations when we're doing things like this. It's taking notes, basically, as you're practicing the process. So you're mastering two things at one time, we hope, okay? So now we've drawn a line drawing of a believable looking cube existing above the horizon line using two vanishing points. Go to the next video to see the next one, which is going to be below eye level. And then there's a third video for on eye level.